what's important for the party and what's important for victory in November is what happened last night, which is a big, united Democratic Party laser focused on defeating Donald Trump and turning the page into a new era of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and their leadership.
Last night at the Democratic National Convention, Joe Biden was like an old lion who delivered a final roar. He delivered a very passionate and emotional speech at times. And he said that he was not angry at the Democrats who tried to remove him. He ran through his presidential achievements. And most importantly, he urged the crowd to get behind Kamala for the November election. It was interesting that he did make reference to his age. I mean, in fact, he kind of made quite a moving, quite a nice joke about how his age had always been a factor in his political life. Let's have a listen.
For 50 years, like many of you, I've given my heart and soul to our nation. And I've been blessed a million times in return with the support of the American people. I've either been too young to be in the Senate because I wasn't 30 yet, and too old to stay as president. But I hope you know how grateful I am to all of you.
He also came out swinging at Donald Trump.
And above all, we need you to beat Donald Trump. Who in the hell does he think he is? Who does he think he is? He says we're losing. He's the loser. He's dead wrong.
And we also heard from another woman who tried to take on Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton. Let's have a listen to what she had to say.
She will never rest in defense of our freedom and safety. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions.
And then just at the end of that, I don't know if you could hear people chanting, lock him up, lock him up. And that was in reference to when Trump attacked Hillary Clinton and he would get his supporters to chant, lock her up over her use of emails. Now, the speeches are coming thick and fast tonight. Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama will take the stage at the convention. So there's going to be a lot of stardust happening tonight. Well, joining us now to discuss what we might expect is Joe Rospars, who was the lead digital strategist for both of President Obama's successful campaigns. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So what did you make of Joe Biden's speech last night? It was pretty emotional at times, but for somebody who was kind of deemed too old to sort of do the job, quite an impressive length of speech, almost an hour.
Yeah, I thought Biden seemed gracious, which he has been throughout this process as the reality shifted around him. And we saw what I think has been true for Biden throughout the whole controversy is that he makes an effective case against Donald Trump. I think there are presentational issues and people were ready for a new candidate at the top of the ticket, but he's done a fantastic job as president. The Harris-Walz campaign is running on the record of achievements from Joe Biden. And as you can see from the sustained applause, people love the guy.
I mean, they definitely felt like there was a lot of genuine affection for him in the room. And while lots of people were very dismayed after the debate, it feels like there's a lot of love for him in the room. But behind the scenes, is everything as smooth as possible? For example, has he sort of forgiven people who maybe pushed him out? Nancy Pelosi, for example, perhaps even Barack Obama, who made it clear that he thought it was time for him to go.
I mean, I can't speak to the personal relationships, but I do think what's important for the party and what's important for victory in November is what happened last night, which is a big, united Democratic Party laser focused on defeating Donald Trump and turning the page into a new era of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and their leadership. And I think that's an incredible feat to have pulled off in what is actually still less than a month since all of this transpired, if you can believe it. And it was pulled off for the first night of these four with great aplomb.
And of course, as I said in my introduction, big ticket box office speeches expected later from Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. What do you think we can expect to hear from them? What will the sort of tone and the message be?
Well, I think we'll see a reflection of the excitement that we're seeing from Democrats all across the country. Again, this has been less than a month since all of this has happened, and there's been just an unprecedented outpouring of support from Democrats up and down the country, and from grassroots level to other elected officials and former presidents. And so I think what you'll see from Barack Obama and Michelle Obama will reflect that genuine excitement that so many Democrats are feeling right now. And what we're seeing is, something that we recognize from 2008, which is that when our political process, and in particular the Democratic Party, but when the political process in general seems to genuinely do something unexpected in reaction to inputs from real people participating in it, that's something that feels really special and that creates an energy of its own. And that was part of what was happening with the Obama campaign in 2007 and 2008. And it's what we're seeing right now with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
And in terms of that sort of people-powered campaign, which of course swept Barack Obama twice to the presidency, it does feel like there's certainly a lot of energy around this campaign. But out there amongst progressives, there's also still a lot of concern about what's happening in Gaza. There's been quite a lot of protest outside the convention centre. How does Kamala Harris and her team try and persuade a lot of those younger, more progressive voters, ethnic minority voters, to get behind her when Gaza's a big issue for a lot of people?
Yeah, I think obviously there's an awful situation and genocide going on that needs our attention and response. I think what you saw from AOC in terms of her call for a ceasefire and return of hostages last night from the stage is an important part of it, that the views of the whole spectrum of the Democratic Party are reflected not just in who's in the crowd listening to the politicians talk, but indeed from the stage and from people laying out the positions that they think are the most urgent causes in our party and in our country and in the world.
And look, you were the lead digital strategist on Obama's campaign, and this campaign is, there's a lot of energy, but of course this campaign has still not been won at all by the Democrats. There's still a way to go, and social media and digital is going to play a big part, and social media is a big kind of tool for Donald Trump. And what's your advice to the Kamala team in terms of how to sort of handle the social media aspect, particularly when there might be a lot of misinformation and disinformation about her and her campaign?
I mean, I think the urgency of the moment is something that every American needs to take on board and make sure that they're policing their own media diet. And so the understanding that your friends and your neighbors and the people you're speaking to in your own genuine social network have skin in the game in this election and need to be genuinely involved as a volunteer, as a voter, as a source of good information. Like that's the big bet in these moments that matter so much for our democracy, is that the people actually have to engage in their own communities and in their own families and in their own social networks, in the sense of your friends, not a platform that steals your data, to really make sure that they're participating to the maximum extent they can in the election.
And who's going to win, Joe?
It's going to be a close election, and everybody's vote is going to matter, and that's why everybody's actions for the next however many 70 odd days of volunteering and making phone calls and sending texts is absolutely critical. So I hope all the Americans listening do that.
Spoken like a true politician there, a true politician's answer. Thank you very much for your time. That's Joe Rospars, who's the lead digital strategist for both of the Obama's campaign.